This is Cybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map pool party for Game 1 of a subscriber replay showcase. And kicking off this 2v2 as the Green Empire in the top left. This is iaraUM. I don't know, it's all I's and A's and R's, and that's a name I'm not gonna pronounce correctly. As the Purple Soviets in the south, this is DomGlitchstep. And making up team number 2, continuing in a counterclockwise fashion as the Red Empire, this is Moobert. And in the north, rounding out our 4th player as the Blue Allies, this is Lucky 4 Miles. Where's your refinery, bud? Okay, he is going... I assumed it was airfield first, but it is actually going to be double barracks for Lucky 4 Miles as he streams out peacekeepers across the map. And actually, if he's able to catch all of these tank busters, that would be a decent amount of cash down the drain for our Empire player right from the start of the match. PKs versus Imperial Warriors and tank busters here as Lucky 4 Miles tries to push in, but his one-at-a-time Peacekeeper line is getting disrupted. Big thanks to the folks who support the channel over on Patreon. Always appreciated, never obligated. Of course, all-time supporters are Oz Media, Mediastorm, Deadly Shadow, Anoxic, Spud, and Admiral Akbar 47. And a big thanks to the newcomers as well: Michael H., Blazin Ace, Josh C., Zero Below, and Cameron S. Going straight into the War Factory. A little bit of a delay, and of course we do see in the bottom right-hand corner a little bit of an insurance policy from Moobert, who has also managed to sneak a dojo way beyond enemy lines and into the back line. So we'll see if he's able to grab an oil derrick or something like that. Infantry wars in the north, as this is not nearly enough from Lucky 4 Miles. That double barracks opening is not quite enough to handle a double team power play from iaraUM and DomGlitchstep coming together to punch through that location. And it's going to be a straight-up engineer attempt, but it's not going to happen. Even an engineer just hanging out here from DomGlitchstep, I guess, ready to recap? Or maybe he's going to go for the barracks himself. I'm not exactly sure. But at the same time, a couple of Tengus going to be pressing in as well. Moobert coming in with the defense. He's going to cut down this Empire infantry army. And eventually, the Peacekeepers will fall, but the Imperial Warriors fall as well. And Lucky 4 may need to rethink his life in terms of how many barracks he can actually utilize, because even with the Tengus there from Moobert, Lucky 4 lost literally every single infantry unit that he's built this entire game, and he has gotten almost no value for them. So unfortunately for Lucky, I think his fortunes might lie more with like aircraft and vehicles, because his fortunes do not lie with peacekeepers. Tank busters now coming back in. iaraUM here to attack, and he's going to try and once again shut down the peacekeeper numbers of Lucky 4, who's set up a bit of an expansion. I think his plan was to take this refinery as his 3rd, but he really needs a multi-gunner turret to try and push these forces back. DomGlitchstep in a lot of trouble as one harvester gets sniped. His second harvester is under threat, and even the terror drone goes down as these Tengus descend upon the base of Glitch. Even one random tank buster is here. Another harvester goes down there, and DomGlitchstep is basically out of cash in his main base. He does have a 3rd out there on the water, but that is not his entire economy that he wanted. Meanwhile, the MCV of Lucky 4 getting targeted down. DomGlitchstep committing to the attack with these sickles as well. Tank-busters getting caught by the Tengus, and it's going to be sickles versus Tengus as iaraUM takes to the sky for some reason. He leaves the sickles on the ground to fight his battle for him, and iaraUM's tank-busters go down. His Tengus watching helplessly from the sky. He could have totally crushed that attack, but instead, DomGlitchstep and iaraUM get pushed back. The MCV survives for the current moment, sells off the barracks now when his MCV is in dire need of protection. Attack the MCV! What are you doing? iaraUM does not go for the MCV fast enough. The multi-gunner turret is here, but I think it's too little too late, as GlitchStep is going to have an opportunity to recuperate. And it looks like Moobert is just taking over more and more of the map. He could take an easy backdoor expansion as well to try and up his economy, since he is basically going to be in a 2v1 situation. Moobert, with one single striker, is going to be able to push away these Tengus for the current moment. A couple of Tengus going down. The barracks does get eliminated, and now I think the production facilities of Lucky are completely gone. So this guy is just a bank. He's just an economy. And I guess he should probably leave the game and hand over anything that he does have over to Moobert. And Moobert is going to have to fight out the 1v2 with Empire, which, you know, it is doable. Keep up the Tengu harassment, keep up the pressure. He may be able to do something there. But a couple of Terror Drones going to be coming in here from GlitchStep as iaraUM finishes off Lucky 4. Not so lucky in this case. Lucky has been defeated. And Moobert going for the 1v2. I really wish he would have been able to take a 4th refinery at some point, maybe even this 4th refinery, so that his attacking units kind of cover it as they advance forward. But we'll see how his defense is. He's going on the offense at the same time. GlitchStep may be in trouble. GlitchStep's base is fairly empty. He does have a combat bunker here. I don't know that anything is actually garrisoned inside of it. But this may be a bit of a base trade situation, as actually GlitchStep sells everything off, so he just gives up his main base completely. He's got this expansion in the north and his MCV way up north, taking over Lucky 4's old main base. A couple of tsunami tanks are here. They're going to be able to trade out against the Tengus, but not when they just transform away like that. Finally, one Tengu goes down, and these tsunami tanks not able to get the kills that they wanted. iaraUM is going to be the next target as Moobert turns north, and iaraUM keeps up the attack, or at least his Tengu presence in the south. He finally pulls away, and he's going to look to defend his homeland. GlitchStep a little bit spread out, a little bit spread thin. I really kind of wish Moobert would clear out those terror drones and then get another expansion up. He's going to need the cash to keep the 1v2 going. Striker versus Striker on the land and in the sky as Moobert is trying to keep up the pressure. Those point defense drones are good, but are they good enough? There's the transform as the Tengus are going to be going against Tengus in the sky, but iaraUM has the numbers and the army gets destroyed. Moobert, no! As he is going to be unable to crush through iaraUM. He may get the Mecha Bay, and no, he doesn't even get the Mecha Bay, but he wasn't going to be able to get the MCV, and that's just a little bit sad for Moobert. Moobert does clear out the terror drones in front of his... No, move your Tengu! Okay, he does save the Tengu there. A couple of tank busters are also here, but this is giving so much time to recuperate for GlitchStep and iaraUM. And unfortunately for... Why would you not just take these expansions? Don't take the refinery near your ally. Go take the old main base of Lucky 4. Moobert really is caught in the middle. He's stuck down in his main base. He's going to engage with the Tengus 1-to-1. The numbers are close, but there's the transform, making this an impossible situation. If he could have engaged over the Mecha Bay, he may have been able to win that fight with the repairs from the Mecha Bay, but not when you engage over top of iaraUM's army. And now it's just sad as Moobert falls apart and is going to be unable to defend his homeland, unable to hold on to his Mecha Bay. So long, Moobert. You fought well, but it is not enough, and even your insurance policy in the corner will not save you. The GG gets called. iaraUM and GlitchStep do manage to win the 1v2. Lucky, not so lucky with those infantry. Moobert doing a good job of making the attempt. He was trying there, and he, if maybe he had a little bit better economy, and he had a little bit bigger of an army, and a little bit better defense, and a little bit better offense, and a little bit better macro, yeah, he would have been able to win that. That'll do it for game number 1. Let's jump into game number 2, which, of course, sends us to Infinity Isle. We all knew that we would be here eventually. We can never, ever get away from it. On the left side, I'm like disorienting myself. On the left side, as the orange allies, this is Egyptian Rusher. Hopefully he is more properly oriented than I am. As on the purple side, on the right side, as the purple, this is War Server 2. What happened to the first War Server? Well, that is a tale for another time. But I've seen both of these guys in some team games. I don't know that I've ever seen them in a 1v1. Egyptian Rusher, no. War Server, maybe, but probably not. So, a couple of guys that we've seen in some team games. We'll see how they do when they're on their own, when it's just them on the island. The island where you take all of your friends to escape the rest of the world. Double racks opening from Egyptian Rusher. So perhaps living up to his name, but not with a Cryocopter Rush, with a Peacekeeper opening. Mecha Bay does get a little bit delayed there, as it did take an extra minute to deploy. And actually, he's going for the deploy near the refinery, so gonna get those repairs if that harvester takes a little bit of damage. Burst drones still just sneaking around the base of Egyptian Rusher, and he is gonna go for the slowdown on one of those harvesters as the Javelin Soldier is at the other one. Poor Egyptian Rusher. His harvester is not rushing forwards in this case. A lot of shields coming out here. Javelin Soldier, one does get cut down. The other one does survive, as the Peacekeepers will keep him safe for the current moment. Well done there by Egyptian Rusher. I mean, there was a clear line of events, and Egyptian Rusher managed to save his opportunity to kill that oil derrick. Defender Corps comes out from War Server. He is a little bit worried about his front door, but he does have that burst drone still slowing down that harvester, just making it a little bit more difficult to get that economy up and rolling. These Javelin Soldiers getting so lucky with catching both of those Tengus, doing pretty good damage to the second one as well, and keeping the first one completely eliminated. Defender Corps is here. That Javelin Soldier is not going to get an easy free kill there. I don't know what that dog was doing, just sent to his doom for some reason, as Egyptian Rusher is going to have a little bit more pressure to deal with. Multi-gunner turret well placed there, but not well enough placed. And this power plant is going to take a little bit of damage here from War Server. A couple of Javelin Soldiers could be eliminated. That's a decent amount of cash and infantry that could just get eaten up by those Tengus. Sometimes the defense is not always worth it. I mean, if you're committing like $1,200 worth of infantry, and those infantry could have been overwhelmed by those Tengus, then you would be down the power plant and the infantry, and that defense wouldn't have worked very well. But actually, it worked pretty well because the Tengus were a little bit scared. Imperial Warriors closing in, hoping to cut down some of those Javelins. And honestly, Javelins inside of a building, that's a great chance for Imperial Warriors to get some guaranteed value. Javelin Soldiers do get jumped on. Tengu's trying to clear the back line, and every single Javelin goes down. The Peacekeeper's going to try and deal with the rest. And the Javelins on the low ground will not be able to defend this power plant. And in this particular case, the wall is just keeping those Tengus safe. They can get even closer if they wanted, and they snipe that power plant very nicely. Peacekeeper goes down as well, and second power plant could be under threat, as Egyptian Rusher is now going to live up to his name, not only with the double racks opening. And better watch out. These Tengus are going to get taken down by the Javelin Soldier if he gets the laser lock for long enough. He goes for the transform. It doesn't work. He should have committed to the attack and just closed the distance and gone for the suicide. A couple of Peacekeepers closing in. Low power mode. No! War Server loses out because of the low power mode. He's not able to keep his defenses on the line, and the second one falls before it's even constructed. The MCV absorbing the damage of those tank busters, and now the Oh no, these Tengus committing to the attack, but then backing off. They do clean up, I think, a couple of the Javelin soldiers, but no, most of the Javelins do survive for the current moment. It's up to the Peacekeepers to keep up the pressure. Another Tank Buster does go down. Tengu's trying to find another angle. They do snipe another Javelin soldier, and the Tengu's starting to get worn thin a little bit as they go for the transform, trying to heal up next to that Mecha Bay. And this is honestly a situation where suiciding the Tengus might be the most cost-effective solution, because right now the Tengus are just going down and they're not doing much. That Tengu just auto-routing to the other side of that War Factory. I don't even know what that Tengu is doing. He's going all over the place, going a little bit crazy as a barracks does get established, but the Javelin soldier gets cut down immediately. The multi-gunner turret starting to get overwhelmed by the sheer firepower of the gun damage from War Server. The Harvester getting in on the action, and the Mecha Bay will survive. The first multi-gunner turret does go down. Power plant has been established by the allied player inside of the Empire player's base, but the micro is starting to fall apart as Egyptian Rusher is running out of steam. The Javelin soldiers getting taken down one by one, and the Tengus will reign supreme. The multi-gunner turret does help out in the defense here, but this might just be too many Tengus for this allied player to deal with. An additional power plant does get established. The Javelin soldiers going down. The multi-gunner turret will be eliminated. Are there enough Tengus? There are 5 remaining. Another multi-gunner turret does get established. If only he had managed to get out 2 at once, they would have been able to break this Tengu flock, but no, it was not meant to be. Multi-gunner turret starting to wear through these numbers. Javelin soldier is a good choice to add into the mix. Point defense drones being so valuable here in this moment. And the fact that there were no reinforcements coming from the other side of the map is, I think, where this attack started to fall apart. The cash flow just was not high enough to support this kind of engagement. Engineer attempts on the Mecha Bay, but the production of this Empire player will not be shut down. Perhaps some Harvester harassment earlier on in this game would have made up for it, but a third refinery out on the water is the saving grace of War Server, and War Server having that extra bit of cash. The dog does get the kill on the engineer, so no luck for either engineer from either team. And War Server with the additional cash, even though he lost the oil derrick. Well, his Tengu numbers have thinned out a little bit here. The multi-gunner turret being established with a second multi-gunner turret ready to go down is actually really good for Egyptian Rusher. The barracks over at the Mecha Bay distracting the forces of War Server was a great move, as it turns out, because the sheer number of distractions might be the thing that pulls War Server apart. He's starting to get a handle on his defense, but the walls have been broken down. The multi-gunner turrets have access to those refineries, and the economy of War Server is in peril. An additional barracks does get established. The MCV has taken a lot of damage, and Engineer could go a long way to keeping War Server's hopes alive, but this refinery falls, and finally Egyptian Rusher has broken through the defense. If he's broken the economy, then he has a shot at taking this game. The production won't be any good if you've got no cash to build anything new, and now 3 multi-gunner turrets. This is going to be so difficult to break for War Server. Egyptian Rushers multi-gunner distraction has done it. No attacks on the other side of the map. Is that what these 4 Tengus are for? War Server starting to give up here. He's got a couple of tank busters. The javelins are going to start taking down that dojo. And the harassment on the other side of the map was never came through. War Server is going to try and make something happen here. MCV escapes out to the water. He's still got the refinery out in the water, which is not known by Egyptian Rusher. Egyptian's main base may fall, and actually I guess they could kind of do a switcheroo here. A little bit unfortunate multi-gunner turret placement there for Egyptian Rusher. He's going to have to sell that off if he wants to take over the refinery. Meanwhile, his main base is getting trashed. He sold off those barracks a little while ago in the Emperor's Rage, allowing these Tengus to clean up these buildings that much more quickly. 2 power plants get sniped, but it's still not enough to take Egyptian Rusher offline. War Server keeping up the pressure. Another power plant goes down. These Imperial Warriors worth their weight in gold as the refinery gets sniped on the other side of the map. Low power mode still has not been activated, and there's the transform. War Server decides to come back over to the other side of the ridge, and War Server is going to take a second water expansion. I guess Egyptian Rusher doesn't realize that there is now 2 water refineries up for War Server, and that he has an opportunity here to completely take back this game if those go unknown. Oh, he's actually going... I thought he was going Naval Yard, but he's actually going for a barracks. Another Harvester does get sniped. One Tengu going fully heroic. War Server and Egyptian Rusher so close to defeat. Both of them. Vindicator gets another pass, and Egyptian Rusher doing such an amazing job of holding on against an opponent who for a while was better set up than him. And now he's actually kind of beat back these attacks, and he's taken over most of War Server's original main base. Snipe on 2 Javelin Soldier, more cash down the drain. There's the transform. Once again, the Vindicator hunting for that MCV. He passes it. Go for the attack, man. Go for the attack. There's the repairs. The Vindicator's coming. No, he doesn't get it, but he's going to crash. No, he misses. The Tengu saved the MCV. Are you kidding me? And now if they go for the transform, that Vindicator needs to get off the deck this second. But this is more time to repair that MCV. The Vindicator goes down. He drops his bombs on those Tengus, but he doesn't get the MCV. Oh, are you kidding me, man? The Egyptian Rusher coming so close to defeat and so close to victory. One Vindicator down, a second Vindicator down. So much cash down the drain, but finally, another Tengu does fall. War Server trying to split up his forces in every direction. He's got a naval yard. He could go tier 2. He could get tsunami tanks. The hope is still alive for both players. Another Peacekeeper gets cleaned up, another power plant, as it looks like, Egyptian Rusher, I think, still has not scouted this water expansion. He has no idea that there is still active cash flow for War Server. Another Vindicator comes through, but these Vindicators are a little bit too late. Needs another run at least to kill off that MCV, maybe 2 more Vindicator runs to be able to clean up that MCV, and no Engineer. He does have the naval yard, though, so he could technically rebuild. But no Engineer to get a quick repair when the MCV is out there on the water like that. Power plant's going down. Egyptian Rusher, it feels like things are starting to fall apart. He's almost cleaned up this MCV, but one Vindicator just isn't enough to clean it up. The MCV honestly may need to reposition so an Engineer can jump inside of it and get the repair. Another Harvester will go down. Multi-gunner turret may be able to get a kill on a Tengu here. No. Tengus do pull back just in time. Javelin Soldier is here to shut down that Engineer or that barracks. Double barracks coming out here for a war room, as War Server may get the final kill, and he does. The MCV goes down. There is still a naval yard and 3 refineries for War Server, but Egyptian Rusher finally gets the kill. Another power plant eliminated, and the infrastructure of Egyptian Rusher, I'm so surprised, has not collapsed under all of these attacks, all of this harassment that's been going on. 2 Tengus still surviving, still keeping their heads above water for so long here. These couple of Vindicators have done a lot to keep the pressure on War Server, and Egyptian Rusher has almost won several times here, but he just doesn't have enough to clean up War Server, and it looks like the harassment will continue. Another Cryoblast going to be firing off. War Server has done a really good job of dodging these Cryoblasts every single time. This power plant really should have been eliminated a long time ago, and those Vindicators could be going on bombing runs against that power plant. The Apollo should just complete a little circuit of the map, a little scout. 2 heroic Tengus against 1 Apollo. That's a free kill there for those Tengus. Up to tier 2, a couple of Sea Wings here. And an MCV could actually be on the way. wouldn't be a bad idea to reestablish the MCV. Both refineries have gone down. This oil derrick has brought in so much cash, and that build radius preservation from Egyptian Rusher is a great move to keep him online on the other side of the map. He really should kill off that power plant. Fully heroic everything here. Fully heroic Tengu's, fully heroic Tank Buster, fully heroic Imperial Warrior, just everything fully heroic here for War Server. Egyptian Rusher is going to have another engineer to worry about here. There are so many multi-gunner turrets, or at least there have been a lot of multi-gunner turrets built over the course of this game. Engineer does get sniped. Another 2 multi-gunner turrets there, and yes, eventually this oil derrick will go down. Couple of javelins, couple of peacekeepers here to clean up those Empire forces, but it will not work. 2 Apollos now here. Nothing that shoots up, so if the Vindicators come by, the transform may be forced. And, well, there's going to be the engage directly into the Apollos. Nice use of that Emperor's Rage and the point defense drones. And unfortunately, the Tengus do both go down. Double Apollo is just a little bit too powerful for those Tengus. But, of course, Tengus can transform, so they're cooler than Apollos, even if the Apollos don't like to hear it. Another MCV is here, another refinery on the way. War Server not giving up. Egyptian Rusher not giving up. Both of these guys in such an awkward situation. 3 refineries for each, but soon a 4th refinery perhaps for War Server. I think this ore mine is the one he has actually held on to the longest now at this point in the game. Is he going to try and take this water expansion? That refinery going to be trying to find its safe haven somewhere on this map. A couple of Sea Wings going to fly over the base. They're going to go for the Harvester harassment, but with double multi-gunner turret, that probably isn't going to be worth it. Tank Buster surprise comes through, but a couple of dogs able to clean that up. Dog comes through for the harassment, the scouting from these dogs, trying to seek out all of the many areas that War Server is hiding on this map. This is becoming a little bit land versus water. Land does give you access to more refineries in total, but honestly, water, 4 refineries, not too bad either. And I don't know that Egyptian Rusher is actually going to be able to maintain all 6 land refineries. He does still have build radius access to both main bases, so 4 refineries should give him an edge up, but he's actually only been on 2 or 3 refineries for most of this time. War Server still looking for that killer angle, and War Server has rebuilt so much out at that water expansion. The defense is a little bit thin, and honestly, a couple of static defenses might be a way to kind of allow the army to move around a little bit more. Ooh, Sea Wing goes for the transform. Maybe they can catch this Apollo. The Apollo just standing there and taking it. Oh no, the Apollo takes too much damage and he goes down. Handing off a veteran status to that Sea Wing. Fully heroic Apollo going down there to that Sea Wing. Multi-gunner turret starting to clear out the walls. War Server feels like he's in a pretty good spot, but Egyptian Rusher has got himself back up to 4 refineries. I would love it if he was able to take those high ground refineries as well, but those might just be a little bit too harassable. And it feels like going tier 3 might actually be the play here to get out a Shogun battleship, or to get out something to try and harass, or to be able to put the pressure on these structures from a distance. Double airfield is going to be difficult to break. That gives a lot of firepower to the allied player. Sea Wing goes down there, trying to go on the harass, but multi-gunner turrets are a little too robust. Actually, it was just Javelin soldiers. It wasn't even multi-gunner turrets. And a Shogun battleship is out on the map. The fleet is rising up. The ore refinery survives that bombing run. And the Harvester also survives, which means that Harvester can just keep worrying away. And, well, the Vindicator does eventually get the kill there. But the Shogun battleships are going to be targeting down that airfield. This may be the only bombing run that you get. Cryogeddon fires off. Shogun Battleship survives the first part of the bombing run, and a couple of the Vindicators may go down to the Sea Wings. Perfect use of the point defense drones, and it buys just enough time for 2 of the Vindicators to get off the deck. A second Shogun is here, so 1 Shogun goes down, but the Vindicators get eliminated. The second one survives just barely, but the Shoguns are starting to work away at these buildings, and I love that War Server is actually going for the bases, the buildings in his original main base instead of the stuff that was actually closer to his Shogun battleship spawning in. It feels like this may actually take Egyptian Rusher a little bit more by surprise, and Egyptian Rusher has so many power plants that even with all of the power plants that have gone down, he's still online. He's still got that electricity flowing for him. Tank Busters trying to go for the kill on this refinery, but they will be opposed by the Javelin soldiers of Egyptian Russia. The dog coming in here at the last minute, and the tsunami tanks finally going to get their guns back online as the harassment breaks out everywhere. The refinery got taken down and was replaced by a naval yard, and this Dolphin trying to chase down this Shogun battleship. Hopefully, there's at least one more Shogun battleship out on the field as War Server is coming perhaps to the end of his rope. No, he's got enough for another refinery, so even though he's lost several of the refineries, he's losing harvesters to harassment, he is still going to try and keep his economic hopes alive as this Shogun battleship goes heroic, and it still hasn't cleaned up this refinery that the balloon bombs were supposed to take care of. And finally, the refinery will go down now that the harvester has been eliminated. No, he's not even going to attack it. He keeps the refinery online. Okay, finally, it goes down. The power plant did get captured by Egyptian Rusher. The naval yard will be shut down, but not before one more Dolphin pops on out, and the Sea Wings will go for the immediate transform, and the naval yard gets shut down. Things are going to be extremely difficult here for Egyptian Rusher. Pretty much his only play is to use his airfield, and that is what happens when you've got artillery versus non-artillery. 4 Vindicators, not enough to clean up a Shogun, especially not with point defense drones. But these Sea Wings have just transformed, but he's going to use the Bull Rush to get through both of those Dolphins. The MCV does escape to land, but this should be enough. Harvester did get taken out, and that tsunami tank just taking a little bit of a break. Oh my gosh, these Vindicators, if they could have gotten off one more bombing run, it would have been enough. But no, it will not be enough. The fire mode on this Shogun battleship with that Emperor's Rage just a little bit too fast, as this Shogun is going to force the MCV to retreat to the middle of the map, which I think is out of range of the Shogun, but not out of range of these Sea Wings. And of course, nothing that you build of significance, so no refineries will be out of range of the Shogun. And that kind of makes it a difficult task for Egyptian Rusher, especially considering War Server can do basically whatever he wants in this case. He may only have the 4 refineries out on the water, but it's better than the 0 refineries on land, as another Shogun battleship starts to tear Egyptian Rusher apart, who, for some reason, is still building stuff. Like, he's about to lose all of his economy, unless he just has a huge amount of cash in the bank, which he's got 8 grand, which is okay, but not nearly enough to come back with no refineries. He probably would need like 20 grand to be able to come back, and even then, it's a little bit dicey. He would need to retreat to the middle of the map as far away. Well, actually, no. I'm not even sure if the very middle of the map is far enough away from a heroic Shogun battleship that he could escape. Egyptian Rusher may have rushed himself into defeat here as War Server comes online and will be able to take this insane AVE on Infinity Isle. What a bizarre match for things to have gone. Oh, he's going to try and deploy. This is still in range. There's no way that refinery is not in range of a heroic Shogun battleship. Like, look at that distance. That's so close to a Shogun battleship. And, well, Tank Buster Surprise is going to try and break this front line. Balloon bombs also coming down, but they're not even needed when you've got a heroic Shogun battleship shelling your base from that far away. Even the Cryogeddon isn't enough. Egyptian Rusher is going to fall to War Server. He's got no real hope. He's got no real plan. He does have a couple of Javelin soldiers that did survive his engagement, but unfortunately the airfield wasn't fast enough to save any of the Vindicators. Low power once again. A refinery gets shut down. Egyptian Rusher is still playing this out like he has a chance, like killing one refinery is going to do anything for him. He's keeping these multi-gunner turrets around even though, like, they're just not doing anything for him, but he's keeping them around as if he has some kind of chance of taking this game. Egyptian Rusher, he's got very little left. His MCV is, I think, about to be targeted by these Shogun battleships, and War Server is even taken some of the land expansions. Only 4 grand left in one, 250 in the other one, and this is a bugged harvester that's got a little bit of a bugged path, but it doesn't even matter. Ooh, 3 grand in that one, so a couple of these refineries will pay for themselves. He's back online, and just to show who's really in charge here, the Psionic Decimator does get constructed. Decent amount of tsunami tanks, decent amount of infantry as well, and there's just no real defense. Egyptian Rusher has been defeated. The writing was on the wall for a long time, but it will finally come true as War Server takes that incredible back and forth on Infinity Isle. And that'll do it for game number 2. What a delightful EVA. Let's jump into game number 3. And let's be honest, it wouldn't be a subscriber replay showcase without at least one match here on Carville. And it looks like things are going a little bit crazy. So let's kick it off with the middle of the map. Spawning on Team 1 as the Cyan Allies, this is Vampir. Their teammate is the Green Soviets in the top right-hand corner. As the Green, it's Panzar. And down the side as the Red Allies, actually as the Yellow Soviets, this is Basilea. Their teammate as the Red Allies in the middle, this is Milan. Now in the south as the Purple Allies, this is TSMC. And rounding out this 6-player game as the Blue Soviets in the corner, moving his MCV, this is KingKonG. Soviet allies, Soviet allies, Soviet allies. I'm guessing these guys set this up on purpose, otherwise this is an amazing turn of events from the random number generator in Red Alert 3. Each team has 1 Soviet player and 1 allied player, and of course it is top middle versus middle versus bottom, which is a pretty normal setup here, but normally we do see this player who's on the southern part of the island take for the water expansions, but in this case, Basilea and Milan definitely put their heads together and decided that they were going to go all out on the aggression, and they're also now going to go ahead and take down this bridge. So they're going to cut off their connection to the southern part of the map. Vampir is already going to have a little bit of trouble because KingKonG was moving his MCV so quickly right from the start of the game, but of course, KingKonG actually has 2 ore refineries to go on and an oil derrick as well because he was able to sneak across the map and take that oil derrick. KingKonG getting shut down a little bit here, but TSMC going to be stepping onto the ground and trying for a little bit of a Vindy's attack there with his Vindy's the player, rather, not Vindicators in a multiple, but he does go for a little bit of an attempt at Javelin firepower as a couple of beacons get thrown down. A little bit of harassment coming in from Basilea, going to be trying to stop Panzar from being an effective member of this game. And as these teams split up and take different parts of the map, the engineer is going to force the sell-off, and it's out on the water. Plus, a terror drone grabbed the MCV. A crusher crane is trying to come up, and it will be here in time. The Peacekeeper is going to be able to keep this engineer away, and the engineer might actually just go for the command hub and try and secure that command hub. to be able to sell it off and get a little bit of cash back. Otherwise, that engineer is, I guess, just going to head off somewhere else on the map. This MCV could get trapped, and he does! He actually gets stasised by a second terror drone, and this is suddenly terrible because actually the flak cannon will distract that terror drone. These hammer tanks need to keep this terror drone alive so that the terror drone inside can do the actual death work, but it is not enough, and KingKonG lets the MCV slip away. Vampir will be saved by Panzar with that Crusher Crane repair. Riptide and Javelin soldiers inside of it from TSMC is going to find a little bit more damage here on the mainland. And where are those lasers going? Over to that other refinery in a bit of a visual glitch, but only one gets crushed there. Good control by Basilea and by TSMC. Don't let them die. All right, the Javelin soldiers do manage to escape for now. Well, one of them manages to escape for now. The Riptide may not be quite so lucky, but this refinery stays alive as on the left side of the map, KingKonG is trying to keep up the pressure. The engineer will get something somewhere. And that's actually on the high ground, I guess. And the blue engineer from KingKonG, I think, ended up going down somewhere else. And it looks like, unfortunately for many of these teams who aren't the Southern team, this is a very rocky start to their game. Now, that does mean TSMC and KingKonG are kind of fighting on two fronts. They've sort of pissed everyone else off on both sides of the map, and they may end up fighting both teams, and then that may be a little bit too much pressure for them. We will see. But at the current moment, KingKonG and TSMC have taken the least amount of damage in their main, and they have had the easiest time getting their main base all set up, getting everything ready to go. Refiner going to take a little bit of damage here as these harvesters jockey for position and trade places a little bit here. Mass infantry from Panzar and Vampir. They're both looking to try and break this hammer tank attack with just pure infantry coming out from their very cheap production facilities as an engineer once again goes for the capture there, but doesn't quite manage to get it. Vampir has, I don't know, like retreated almost to various points of the map, but Panzar has pretty much taken over this little section, and Vampir has an MCV somewhere. Okay, there it is on the high ground, trying to hide, and walls getting broken down. Vampir's old main base getting taken over, and TSMC once again trying this Riptide shenanigans. Again, a bit reminiscent of Vindy's. He used to get some real work done in team games with just a couple of Riptides and some Javelin soldiers, but that guy's control was incredible and much better than you or me. Tanks from KingKonG going to be able to crush this Crusher Crane, and at the same time, TSMC gets shut down in the new main base of Milan. I guess this is one part Milan, one part Basile's base, and they're going to be sort of sharing that space, which used to be Vampir's base, but oh well. 5 hammer tanks should be able to dislodge this Soviet player and the allies as well, especially if they just go up onto the high ground. KingKonG doesn't actually realize the opportunity that he's got to completely crush the MCV of Vampir. There's no defense on the high ground. It's all focused on the low ground. TSMC doing a good job of attacking the right side of the map while KingKonG keeps the left side of the map busy. Now a multi-gunner turret is here, a Tesla coil as well. Things have maybe waited a little bit too long. Going to go ahead and crush down that harvester, and the Dolphin now heading out for TSMC to start up the water assault, as actually that refinery just gets outright canceled by TSMC, and KingKonG making some curious moves here. He decides to back off. He missed his opportunity to just walk up that ramp and take over that part of the map. A little bit unfortunate for him, but you don't know what you don't know. And now Basile and Milan feel like they've got a really solid setup in the middle of the map, but maybe nowhere other than the middle of the map, as it does look like TSMC coming in here for another attack. More Javelins and Riptides, but a little bit mishandled. A couple of crushes could be coming in here. No, the Vindicator's going to come by, split a couple of bombs a little bit too early. The Bear's going to shut down a couple of the Javelin soldiers, and the Sickle's going to get the kill on the frozen units, but the Riptides do go down. Beautifully handled there by Basile and Milan, joining forces to shut down that harassment. One single conscript onto the high ground there. A bit of a curious choice. And this Tesla coil from Panzar, well, I guess it'll get shut down by the V4. And, well, that's the only downside to those Tesla coils, is they can't stop V4 rockets. I've been playing some Red Alert 2 recently, and I forgot how annoying Patriot missile systems are at destroying Dreadnought rockets, because Dreadnoughts only fired 2 rockets, and they were killable. I guess in Yuri's Revenge, those Gatling cannons are also really good at killing V2 rockets. But, yeah, those Patriot missile systems are so annoying at killing off all of your Dreadnought rockets. Engineer coming in and will get crushed, force the pull away here. Panzar going to be dropping toxins, perhaps, on this section of the map, and yes, he is going to catch pretty much the entire army there. Not much in terms of infantry. KingKonG is going to fire back a couple of satellites, going to be raining down from the sky. Meanwhile, a harvester from TSMC does get sniped, and it looks like an aircraft carrier is out on the map, but here a couple of sickles going to be harassing KingKonG in the bottom right-hand corner while the aircraft carrier tears apart Basile's main base, and there is no stopping TSMC. That harvester finally going to be taking care of that conscript, and it's going to be Tesla troopers versus the V4 rockets. As unfortunately for those Tesla troopers, they cannot defeat the entire army of KingKonG all by themselves. Panzar and Vampir feel like they have definitely been pushed aside a little bit in this map. Milan and Basile feel like they're a little bit more well set up, but obviously KingKonG and TSMC have had the easiest time getting everything up and running. They just made the mistake of trying to fight everyone on the map at once, and it's honestly not going that badly, but would probably be going a little bit better. The rattle of the skeleton there as that Tesla coil clears up the scouting conscript from KingKonG. A couple of Vindicators come through. A couple of Vindicators get eliminated. It looks like Basile has almost been completely pushed out of his main base. He does have a couple of Akula subs potentially going to be closing in on these aircraft carriers. 2 aircraft carriers trying to clear out the middle of the map. Vindicators as well trying to clear out the Javelin soldiers, the Flak troopers, and the Bears as well. Precision Bomber comes in, another V4 goes down. You do have to hand it to Vampir and Panzar. They've been trying to clear out those those V4s, but there are too many other units here from KingKonG to be stopped. Multi-gunner turret does go down. KingKonG and TSMC gonna try and clear the middle of the map. Don't quite wait for the full freeze, but they do get the kill regardless. And the Apollo steps forward, gets cleaned up by the hydrofoils on the low ground, or I guess the low water down there. A little bit of an attack from both sides as Panzar starts moving south, or perhaps Basile is moving north. An APOC tank and a V4 there. A couple of Akula subs trying to do battle with TSMC and KingKonG. And Terror Drones gets both of the aircraft carriers. A great move there by Basile. Meanwhile, the Riptides give chase, and the Akula subs have cleaned up the naval yard. A perfect 1-2 execution of this aircraft carrier fleet. Fresh naval yard does get established, and it looks like the Terror Drones will be taken care of just in time. A couple of Vindicators going to be coming through. One of these aircraft carriers has not actually cleared out the Terror Drone, and it goes down. The Dolphin and the Riptides managing to get the killing blow. The EMP locks down those Riptides, but it's too little, too late. Basile and Milan are not going down without a fight, and honestly, it kind of feels like everyone is fighting everyone else. The MCV of Vampir finally gets eliminated. KingKonG finally can walk onto the high ground, but he's been taking a little bit of a beating in other places on the map. Sentry bombers clearing out a refinery. Milan constantly keeping up the attacks as much as possible. TSMC has been on a warpath, and yet Milan has found the strength to fight back. a really good performance by basically everyone in this game. This is the peak of, even though you may not have a great shot of winning, you're still giving it your all, you're trying your best, and you're fighting until the bitter end. All of these guys are just committing to the attacks and not throwing in the towel, which is quite, as I say that, Vampir and TSMC both have been defeated, so KingKonG and Panzar are now single-player teams. And it's going to be up to Basile and Milan, the only two-player team left, to bring the pain and outmaneuver their opponents. KingKonG is very well set up with all of the economy that TSMC handed over to him. And Panzar maybe not in as good of a situation. He is definitely in the worst situation. But he does have 5 refineries to his name, plus an oil derrick as well. Yurii mini sub, Kula sub. I don't know why I keep calling them Yurii mini subs. There's nothing mini about the shark of the Akula. Vindicator's making another bombing run. Good execution on one of those aircraft carriers, stopping it from bombing this refinery. The second Akula sub, I'm not sure why the Akula subs aren't attacking this aircraft carrier. The aircraft carrier may actually get the kill on that refinery. KingKonG starting to get overwhelmed in sentry bombers. Their inefficient bombing pattern is sometimes their downfall. Vindicator's trying to make another bombing run, but not actually against the aircraft carrier. And now the cryo blast is going to fire off. It'll get the airfield, and the aircraft carrier should be able to finish it off. Twin Blade coming in, will not be able to drop off that engineer. The engineer flies down to the ground unsafely there. No parachute included. You only get a parachute if you launch out of a bullfrog. And KingKonG has now been completely pushed back. The high ground gets completely taken back over, and KingKonG is just getting battered backwards. Sentry bombers, aircraft carriers, support powers all coming together to blast away at KingKonG to eliminate his refineries one by one. And maybe they were able to hold off on a couple more of these bombs from the sentry bombers, but no, they don't go for the second refinery. A couple of aircraft carriers do get eliminated. The Akula subs finally clear out the waters, and KingKonG is starting to take his destiny back into his own hands, but Panzar at the same time rallying late in the game, now with like 7 refineries under his control. Panzar actually has a real opportunity to go really big into the late game army. Big Twin Blades, big Kirovs, and go for just a huge, well, okay, not if the Athena cannons are just going to shut down his expansions. Chronosphere here for KingKonG, Iron Curtain here for Panzar, the vacuum imploder as well, but it's low power mode for that Soviet player. Panzar, I think, lost all of the, or I should say, Vampir lost all of the Allied production facilities, so I think there is no Allied part of Panzar's army, even though in theory there could be. KingKonG, on the other hand, I think has an MCV from the Allied player as well, yeah. So he has got the MCV. He could even be building a Proton Collider. He actually does go for the Dreadnought. He doesn't go for the aircraft carrier. Natasha swimming out onto the water. Akirov coming in, and Panzar trying to make his mark in the middle of the map. He'll get the refinery, but not much more than that. Natasha getting targeted down by that Dreadnought, but the V4 is starting to push the Dreadnought away. I think he's trying to go for the snipe on the Dreadnought. Go for the snipe on the Dreadnought. Snipe the pilot out of the Dreadnought, but the MCV of KingKonG will get taken down. And I think he was going to try and use a bear to capture that Dreadnought. I believe, ooh, Natasha actually gets sniped by 2 Ultra Torpedoes there. Ordinarily, a bear can't capture a building, or a unit, excuse me. But if Natasha snipes the pilot from a unit, you can, like, select a bear and another unit, like maybe an engineer, and you can somehow get the bear to take over the unit, I don't know, like force move or something, into the unit. It's not something that you're normally supposed to be able to do, but people do it in team games and in non-competitive environments where, you know, it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more loosey-goosey, as two Twin Blades are going to airlift APOC tanks. Get out of the sky! No, the APOC tank falls apart quite literally as Basile defending his borders, but not well enough to stop the second APOC tank from dropping. Terror drone here, hydrofoil as well. The ultra torpedoes already fired off, and eventually the Akula sub will go down. Another Natasha is out on the field, and the sentry bombers are going to miss their targets if they're not careful. Oh no, they get them both! They get both dreadnoughts! The split between them seals the deal! And Panzar, with I think 6 or 7 refineries on this map, I hope he's banking a ton of cash, and then he's just going to build a giant late-game army. Right now he's doing a really bad job of it. He's given away basically 3 Kirovs, and the second and the third one I think may not actually get anything. Dreadnought takes a lot of damage, but it does survive. And that is the nature of this sentry bomber. Athena cannon does go down. The Bullfrog not able to eliminate that sentry bomber, and the Kirov was crushed. Twin Blades heading out around the map. I do like the attempts from Panzar to try and engineer drop with Twin Blades. It hasn't quite worked out. No Chronosphere just yet from KingKonG. Iron Curtain is about to establish or go as well, and somewhere on the map, a Chronosphere, onto the middle of the map, and actually the MCV is going to get targeted down. A couple of hammer tanks here as well to just eliminate power plants, and KingKonG is going kind of right for the gut here, as he is going to slash open Milan and hope that killing this MCV will be a path to victory. And there is going to be the cryocopters not here, but there is one cryocopter here to shrink down that APOC tank, and the APOC tank has to run from that harvester. He's trying to go for the grind of the MCV, and he needs to dodge the Athena cannon. This MCV is almost dead, but the hammer tank is gonna be enough. No, the APOC tank comes back to full size, and now that hammer tank can just die because the MCV has been sniped. Nicely done there. And the Iron Curtain is ready to fire off at any moment. The Kirov coming in from the north. Panzar is going to get the oil derrick and perhaps nothing more, but he is at least going to get the oil derrick as a satellite crashes down. And the MiGs will try and deal with this Kirov. Oil derrick, and, well, I don't think he'll make it to the refinery, but he could try. Pretty good use of a Chronosphere to kill an MCV. Of course, another MCV does just get constructed by Milan, so he is back in it. He can use those cryo-gettons. He can use those abilities. And the MiGs actually ran out of missiles before that Kirov went down. And unfortunately for Panzar, he did not alt-click that guy to go ahead and clean up more than just one building. Sentry bombers cleaning up almost everything, but they do let one refinery escape, and this Tesla trooper is just hoping that that MCV packs itself up and then will be locked down. But Tesla coils are coming up. There's the sell-off of the MCV, and the engineer will not grab it, but the Tesla coil will get the kill on the engineer. No! The engineer survives as Basile has the war factory and the barracks to distract those Tesla coils in the current moment. Kirov's splitting up around the map, now going to be trying to target KingKonG as satellites crash into that Iron Curtain. 45 seconds on the vacuum imploder. Tesla coils trying to clear up everything of Basile, and the middle of the map still looks like the strongest fortress, but KingKonG is doing what he can to try and bring it down. He's going to be able to strike down this refinery at least, and maybe a little bit more than that. Milan trying to fight several different fronts with these sentry bombers, and Panzar doing a good job of splitting up the attacks of all of his opponents. Chronosphere is ready once again. There's 8 seconds on that vacuum imploder. Oh, if he had been ready with a Tanya and an IFV, he might have been able to stop the vacuum imploder. It's going to be firing off somewhere, and it looks like it is going to grab those Peacekeeper. Surely this would have been a better spot on top of those sentry bombers. He will get the refinery. He doesn't get the airfield, but, well, I guess that's that. I feel like the sentry bombers would have been the better target and then let the Kirov deal with the refinery, but the assault is beginning. 1, 2 hydrofoils, 3 hydrofoils are here, but this is, I think, way too many twin blades. They decide to not dive on the hydrofoils, and the sentry bombers are just going to wait as the Kirov comes for them. Goodbye, sentry bombers. That was like 10 grand in a refinery right there. 4 sentry bombers, or at least a couple of sentry bombers, and the airfield itself. 10 grand down the drain. Somehow Panzar has made a real comeback. He's got his twin blade armada. He's got Kirovs doing good damage. And it might actually come down to KingKonG and Panzar going at each other in the 1v1s as the Proton Collider finds its mark and doesn't catch the MCV, but does catch the rest of the base. A couple of twin blades are here. They're not actually going to target down the MCV. They're instead going to go for the power plants, go for the guaranteed kills as the Bullfrog finally kills off the Kirov, stopping the bleeding, stopping the additional damage. And KingKonG and Panzar bringing the pain, but can they still stand up to the double team as the Iron Curtain fires off right on the Tesla coil? Perfect usage there. Well, okay, not perfect, but in the moment, I mean, you might as well save that refinery, save the harvester, and allow that Tesla coil to get an extra couple of shots against that APOC tank. Twin blades showing up. They're going to clear out the APOC, and I guess they can't do much against the other twin blades unless the twin blades drop down to try and pick something up. It is Dreadnoughts and twin blades versus Kirovs and twin blades. V4s from the land, from Panzar, trying to target down this MCV, and the MCV is actually going to walk right towards these Kirovs. That seems like a bit of a mistake. The Kirovs are going to have a hard time catching the MCV. He might have been able to catch it if he ignited his afterburners a little bit more quickly, but he won't now, as the IFVs are going to keep this MCV safe. And, well, goodbye, Kirov. It was nice knowing you, but it is not enough for you to stay alive. Vindicators coming through. A couple of them do get cleaned up as they try and thin out the naval forces of KingKonG. An absolutely action-packed and goofy match coming out from these 6 players, or from these 4 players, as it has been for most of the game now. It feels like twin blades now coming in for KingKonG. This is like ADHD, the game. There is total distraction from everyone in every direction. No one can decide one singular area to focus on. And I mean, if any of these groups, and if any of these teams had focused their energy on one other team instead of trying to fight everyone at the same time, constantly, always, then this game might be a little bit closer to having a clear victor. KingKonG, he's almost ready to go with the Proton Collider. He really should get the Vacuum Imploder as well. I mean, he's got access to both tech trees. If he got a Proton Collider and a oh, actually, right there. Okay, so Iron Curtain and Vacuum Imploder both get added on. He's going for a bit of harassment. A couple of flak cannons were already added on earlier. It looks like satellites may be getting called in on that harvester. Or I guess it's going to be toxins, actually, on top of the harvester. And it is the double toxin drop, so that harvester is probably just going to go down. And, well, bye-bye, harvester. You better start another one in a moment. And hope that the toxins don't get it. Cryogeddon catches two Dreadnoughts there as the V4s are able to take them down. Nicely done. And once again, KingKonG, he really needs to just, like, make an unholy alliance with Panzar and say, okay, look, we will deal with each other in a minute, but for now we need to clear out the middle of the map. These guys are non-stop harassing me. Twin blades against IFVs. Eventually, the IFVs will be overwhelmed, and the twin blades will reign supreme. Even the Bullfrog will go down there, and it's going to be the Apollos, no, the hydrofoils clearing up that twin blade. KingKonG has access to both sets of units, so Hydrofoils and Twin Blades are a pretty powerful combination for certain. Bullfrog Twin Blade also a powerful combination, as it looks like Twin Frog is going to pretty much clear out the middle of the map. Chronosphere's the MCV onto a super reactor. Great choice there by KingKonG. He may just have to dive onto that Bullfrog. I don't know if he's got much of a choice if he wants to keep up this attack. And no, the Bullfrog survives just barely. He was trying to minimize the damage done by that Bullfrog. Oh no, you better not let this Twin Blade get through your defenses. If he drops, well, there's not much of value here, but it could start a chain reaction that's really annoying. If someone engineer grabs something in your base and then they use the build radius to start placing stuff, that can be quite annoying. Twin Blades from Panzar. The Twin Blade eventually left or got cleaned up. Sentry Bomber cleans up a V4, and it's the mass Twin Blades just when KingKonG was starting to get a bit of damage, but that is a huge clump of Twin Blades going down on top of the airfield as well. A perfect usage of that vacuum imploder. And look at this, satellites as well getting called in on the refinery and the airfield. Almost complete devastation and destruction of KingKonG. Panzar is coming for him. Only 30 seconds left until the Proton Collider. You really want to start shutting down the electricity of KingKonG, if at all possible. He's going for the reactors. There is a super reactor in the corner, 20 seconds, but the Iron Curtain is also here, so he can delay that destruction of the super reactor. And you better hope that you're able to dodge that Proton Collider, as KingKonG could inflict a lot of damage. And that is Iron Curtain Bullfrogs trying to chase those Twin Blades. A couple of Hydrofoils going to find a couple of kills as well, as these Twin Blades just get eaten up one after another. Proton Collider is ready to go, and that Sentry Bomber has nowhere to land. Dreadnought gets double infected there, as the middle of the map perhaps. I'm not sure where that Proton Collider fired off, but unfortunately for KingKonG, he has taken just a ton of damage in the last couple of minutes. Too many places that he has to try and defend, and the result is Terror Drones in his Dreadnoughts, Twin Blades tearing up his southern base. Although, again, they didn't get the Crusher Crane, they didn't get the Super Reactor either. I feel like those would have been worthy targets. If you're going to suicide a whole bunch of Twin Blades, you might as well suicide them on something useful, like a Super Reactor. Get the Crusher Crane as well. A couple of Dreadnoughts will go down. That gives a single veteran status to a Terror Drone, so that's very nice. Hydrofoil may get infected. Going to go for the Collector. And Chronosphere is ready to go as well. You better hope KingKonG can't see your MCV packing up like that. Otherwise, he might Chronosphere it onto a Super Reactor again. A couple of Twin Blades heading out for KingKonG. Gets the reactor. Going to be able to shut down the refinery as well. No real ability for Basile to save that. Refinery goes down, and it's going to be a couple of Twin Blades, mostly Bullfrogs. Almost the entire army of Panzar is Bullfrogs. He's really worried about the Twin Blades of his opponent in this particular case. Okay, I was like, what are these hammer tanks doing? They're just hanging out here next to KingKonG's base, but that is going to be the Chronosphere. A bunch of Mirage tanks into the back door. They're going to get both of the super weapons. One Terror Drone does get an infect on one of the Mirage tanks. Toxins also coming down, and the Mirages clean up the super weapons so that only KingKonG has super weapons. 15 seconds on that vacuum imploder. Magnetic Singularity calling in these Mirage tanks, and the Twin Blades will clean up the last of them. And KingKonG is ready to tango once again. His Iron Curtain is almost ready. His vacuum imploder is ready as well. And he may decide to hit the base on the left, goes for the super reactor, gets the refinery as well. I think the super reactor barely survives. Yeah, just barely does survive there as these other buildings do get demolished. KingKonG pulls off the twin blade attack. I feel like everyone has, ever since a lot of these ore nodes have dried up, all of the players have definitely pumped the brakes and been a lot more careful with their units, which is typically what does happen. Just a couple of more loads. Oh, 14,000 credits. Wow, that actually has a ton of cash left in it. Most of these other refineries still don't. Long-distance mining kind of becomes a viable strategy this late in the game. Twin Blade's going to be sniping these harvesters. And you definitely want to be spending your cash on something other than just rebuilding harvesters. One Apollo is here. You probably need a couple of hammer tanks on the ground to deal with these flak cannons. But I guess you can try and destroy them before they actually get constructed. And one of them will finally finish. And unfortunately for Panzar, he just will not be able to break KingKonG in the south just yet. And at this point, who knows what's going to happen. I feel like KingKonG, since he's got the double... he's got the double super weapon, he can, you know, use that really carefully. He could, in theory, he could always keep one on cooldown and just never call it in if he doesn't want to. Or he can wait until, like, he's got... I guess he is Soviet, so he's only got access to the Soviet support powers. But he can call in satellites as a secondary super weapon, and then a combination of the three of those things can kill basically anything on the... Like, this is a super tight chunk. You know, vacuum imploder, proton collider, and then you just satellite drop anything that's left over, and that takes care of most of your opponent's base. All right, Chronosphere is ready. V4 starting to shell these water expansions for the upteenth time. They actually go for it. Actually, that's going to be down onto the water for those... I don't actually know what he grabbed there, like IFVs or something. Tanya does get sniped, and by Tanya I do mean Natasha does get sniped there. V4 starting to target down this super reactor. KingKonG once again a little bit pressed too thin, a little bit too many base defenses, and he's having trouble dealing with those V4s, putting the pressure on him. Milan's Sentry Bombers, they are back. This guy is here to clean up refineries. He gets the good bomb drop on that one. 3 minutes for the Iron Curtain, 6 minutes for the Vacuum Imploder. I mean, the Chronosphere will be done in 240, so we can just Chronosphere more Mirage tanks and clean both of those up like KingKonG already did. Or maybe he could go Tanya, as that Akula sub has to go under the water to be able to get anything more done. Nice snipe on that V4. Not enough to save the naval yard, but he does get the kill on the V4. And Kirovs are coming for you. Panzar, the sleeper guy, he and Vampir got knocked around perhaps the most at the start of the game. They kind of got pushed out of the middle of the island, and Precision Bomber comes in there with the Akula sub to finish off that aircraft carrier. And unfortunately for KingKonG, he might sort of be getting double-teamed here. Milan and Basile kind of coming together. Is that Magnetic Singularity and a Toxin drop at the same time? He's trying to EMP anything that comes out of that seaport so the Toxins can get them, but not quite going to capture anything in the Toxins. Whatever's going to finish building, he's going to go for it. Proton Collider on top of these super weapons, but the still got 2 minutes there. He didn't actually kill the super reactor. I think he thought he was going to kill the super reactor. Magnetic satellite actually being used in a strategic way. Well done there to Panzar. He was using it to try and guard his Kirovs, which have no protection at all. A couple of Twin Blades would be a good way to keep those Kirovs alive. Then at the very least, you can chase away the IFVs, and the IFVs will the Twin Blades will keep the IFVs busy while the Kirov crashes and burns. Gets most of the health off of that reactor. Twin Blade goes for the capture of that refinery with the help of the engineer, but the engineer does get taken out. Aircraft carriers back out on the field. And what is KingKonG's plan to stop Panzar from just rolling over his base? Panzar is going to take this depleted double ore mine. It's going to take so long for those refiners to actually pay for themselves, but having like 10 depleted ore mines is actually pretty decent income. Not as much as you would like, but it's pretty decent income this late in the game. And also, he's got 1 oil derrick, so that guy has been cranking away for a long time in this match. KingKonG wishes he would have been able to take that out, as Chronosphere is ready to go. Vacuum Imploder 30 seconds away, and Basile's Akula subs have killed more stuff out on the water than basically anything else over the course of this game. And Chronosphere just fired off somewhere. Unfortunately for KingKonG, he's going to have to deal with this army that is growing in the southwest corner of the map. IFV Twin Blade, not a combination you see very often, but it's the same concept as Twin Frog. Just a little bit, maybe more effective, because IFVs can attack both ground and air. So you kind of got a double advantage there. Ooh, Sentry Bomber and a Vindicator both trying to clean up those V4s. They can't quite deal with the Twin Blades or the APOC tank, but this might be a bit of a trade, a base for a base kind of a thing, as it looks like it's going to be a pretty undefended base, actually. There isn't much here for Panzar. He's going to lose this super reactor. He may lose these super weapons as well. This Twin Blade is going to go down. The engineers get eliminated. The bears go down as well. The super reactor is offline, and this is pretty much all locked down, as that is an engineer grabbing a proton collider in the south. It finally happened. He finally was able to do it while KingKonG was clearing up his base in the north. And is this going to be a case where KingKonG and Panzar actually just kill themselves, and the only result is that by default Basile and Milan actually win this thing because the guys outside of the island have actually just completely eliminated themselves? That might be sort of what happens here. The Vacuum Imploder goes down. The Iron Curtain is next. Panzar is well spread out throughout this map, so his base, it still exists somewhere else. Twin Blades get the kill on the airfield. KingKonG keeps that Vindicator alive just barely. The engineers going crazy from both teams. Panzar getting... Actually, he's still got control of the Proton Collider. He should probably sell that guy off. It's got 2.5 minutes left, but the cash infusion is really all you could hope to get. IFVs go IC, and, well, the Twin Blades are still just going crazy on everything that Panzar has. A beacon has been placed, and the Bullfrog's going to come in here. They're able to shred a couple of these Twin Blades moments before that super reactor goes down, and no! The Iron Curtain expires just in time for that IFV to go down, and unfortunately for Panzar, he has lost almost the entire northern section of the map. The Chronosphere is getting targeted down. There's the sell-off, and the Proton Collider is still under the control of Panzar. This game just turning into absolute chaos from every angle as the Twin Blades of Panzar are just sharking around to the base of KingKonG, and barely that terror drone does go down. Panzar's still holding on to that Proton Collider even though he has no power, and he probably won't be able to get it online for long enough. Once again, Basile's Akula subs cutting through something else out on the water, going double vet as a terror drone from KingKonG gets the infect on that fully heroic Akula. A sad, sad story for that Akula, and this Sentry Bomber without a safe place to land, I think will eventually go down. Panzar keeping up the ground assault. Meanwhile, KingKonG keeping up the air assault as his Twin Blades have ranked up so many times in the south. or in the north, excuse me, as in the south. This V4 is going to try and crush all opponents. One last rocket will fire off and not actually get the kill on a refinery or anything. Laser lock down your own proton collider, but only after it's been captured by your opponent, as this one javelin soldier tries to dodge all of the incoming fire. Engineer going for the grab, and a vacuum imploder does get nabbed by Basile. The build radius as well, and just structure after structure going down. An additional barracks gets added on. The bear will clean up the conscript, and the bear actually does survive that engagement as well. Meanwhile, on the high ground, the Twin Blades bring their IFV buddies onto land, maybe? They're going to try and escape as the IFVs of Milan chase them down. And I, again, have no idea where this one is going. Satellites getting called in. Iron Curtain gets grabbed. KingKonG is losing control of this game. One building at a time. Two engineers. A Tesla coil and a flak cannon both coming up as satellites crash into that power plant and lock down almost everything else of KingKonG. But he is not giving up. He is going to try and make this one as painful as it can be. IFVs and Twin Blades versus the IFVs of Milan. But no, the army of KingKonG falls apart as his Twin Blades escape out to an already defended base, which comes online in mere moments, just in time. And an engineer going to grab a power plant, taking over something else from KingKonG, who has, I think, only one structure left. I think KingKonG is about to be out of this game. And if he loses this building, yep, that is it. KingKonG is down, and the bear jumps inside of the bullfrog. That bear just driving the bullfrog around. All right. Basile and Milan, I think, are going to be able to take this one. Panzar has... Okay, GG gets called. Panzar has left the game. Panzar is spread out pretty far. But in the end, the team in the middle, Milan and Basilea, both able to come through, the only one surviving in that game. Wow, TSMC and Vampir both leaving around the 12-minute mark, and then the game stretching on to 45 minutes. And that seems like a good place to end this video and to end this particular showcase. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is Cyber signing out.